God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light, the true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood or of the will of the flesh or of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory. The glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to him and cried out, "This was he of whom I said, 'He who comes after me ranks ahead of me, because he was before me.' From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. The law indeed was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. There's stories that we have within us and that we tell. You probably told some of those stories over this holiday season with your friends or family. They become part of your DNA, and they are like living cells. They live inside of us because they belong to the narratives of our lives. And without these stories, and without the vivid memories that we have of them, well, we would not be the people or the person that we have become today. So I have one of those stories about myself that I would like to share with you today. When I was 12 years old, my grandmama traveled 2 blocks from her home, which was located at 604 California Street, to 1009 Locust Avenue in Huntsville, Alabama. Now, she traveled those really less than 2 blocks at a very slow rate of speed, I might add, in order to spend Christmas Eve and the beginning of Christmas Day with our family. It was our tradition. It was the tradition in our household for my grandmama to spend the afternoon and the night with us on Christmas Eve and wake up with us on Christmas morning. Another one of those traditions that played into this was that on Christmas Eve, the children were allowed to open one gift under the tree before the 4 o'clock service at the Church of the Nativity, Episcopal. Some years, those presents we chose were really awesome. The best one I ever got was a Mickey Mouse watch. It was a Timex. And I remember my mama going, "You should open that one. because you can wear it to the service. So I opened it and put it on proudly. Well, some years, like I said, the presents were great. I got a Swiss Army knife too one time. But I also got a ceramic Darth Vader mug, which now for some of you who are Star Wars fans, that could be awesome. But this was like some knockoff thing, and it probably was covered with lead. You know, ceramic had that. I mean, it looked like it would kill you. Anyway, I was terribly disappointed with it. And I wasn't a big Star Wars fan. Well, after each of us had opened our gift, then it was off to church. And at that time, as I recall, Nativity did not have a children's Christmas pageant. And that was because there was a woman long, long ago in the history of the church who had given some money to the church for the express purpose of providing Christmas presents to the children of the church. So when the church was small, they gave them bicycles. When the church grew and grew and grew, they could not afford to give people bicycles, but they still needed to do something. So we always hoped that it would be some great gift from the church because we'd all heard about the bicycles. But usually it might have been like a small stuffed animal, I don't know, a donkey, or a small bag of frankincense, which was cool, but we were all too young to play with fire. So you couldn't really make it smell. But, and then after that, I think they got the idea that maybe they should just make Christmas ornaments, which is what they did. And some of those ornaments right now are hanging on my parents' tree over in Marietta, Georgia. So following the Christmas service, which seemed to go on forever and ever, we had a birthday cake for Jesus. Guess what's happening today after our service? We're having a birthday cake for Jesus. And it's a rather large cake. So I expect each and every one of you to eat 1/32 of it, or whatever size we can break it down to, so that there won't be any cake left. But we're having a birthday cake for Jesus. So we would go in really hall, we would sing happy birthday to Jesus, and we would proceed to devour cake, just pieces of cake. I am not sure what the rationale was for giving young children all that sugar on Christmas Eve just before they were heading home and should be going to sleep. But I'm sure it was well intended. So all sugar spiked, we headed home to do our evening meal. And let me tell you what, it was the same meal every year because it was part of our tradition. Maybe you've had this meal yourself. It is a chicken breast wrapped with bacon and then placed on dried beef, and then you smother it with mushroom soup and sour cream and about a half a cup of cognac. Now, this recipe is all over the internet and has all kinds of different names because I looked it up. It's pretty good, actually. But the trick to it is you got to try really hard and figure out a way not to dry out the chicken breast. Because my mama usually would dry out the chicken breast. It's just part of it. So it's just hard to keep it from doing that, but there's a way to do it. So alongside that chicken casserole that we had wild rice and these French green beans that my mama would make with little bacon bits and pearl onions in them. And we'd have steamed broccoli. And my grandmama would make all these homemade yeast rolls. And they were the best. The mythology around our house and in my family is that I ate 18 of them one time. And they're pretty nice. And I wouldn't be surprised if that were true. We all, the adults drank wine, we had tea. And then after we ate, we had our choice of warm pecan pie, which my mama usually made, or warm apple pie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream for dessert. Now, also on the table was this odd dish that I could never comprehend. It was a little jiggly. It was red in color, not bright red, just like tomato red. It was gelatinous, and it was a square. And it was always right up here on the right side of the plate on top of a piece of iceberg lettuce, and it was topped with a dollop of Hellman's mayonnaise, and I believe a little bit of paprika for color. It's something called tomato aspic. I don't know if you've ever had it. As children, we had other names for it. But let me tell you what, delicious was not one of the words we ever used. In fact, I don't think any of us, there were three of us. I have two older sisters. I don't think any of us ever ate that stuff. I don't know who did. I really don't. But it showed up on our Christmas table every year. Well, following the dinner and the cleaning up, we would put on pajamas. All of us, those old feety pajamas where your feet go into the pajamas. And we'd gather in our small, cozy den in our small little house where we lived. And we had a wood-burning fireplace in there. My daddy just started a fire. And then we'd watch Christmas specials, right? Rudolph was on. And Frosty, I guess. I can't remember. And then it was off to bed once H.D. Bagley came on the WHNT channel and said, Santa Claus has been spotted on the radar. And they'd show you the radar screen, and it was just one black screen and a big blob of gray. I have no idea how he knew where Santa Claus was, but we believed H.C. Bagley, and off we went to bed. Now, another custom which we had as children was to wake up in the wee hours of the morning on Christmas Day. Usually when it was pitch black outside to see what Santa had delivered. Whichever child woke up first, they woke everyone else up so that everybody could see what Santa had delivered to them. Now, when Santa Claus came to my house, it was like a Parisian's display, right? There was like a dining room chair, and there was like, clothes displayed or toys or whatever. Nothing was wrapped. It was all out for you to see. Well, since we were all awake, because one kid had woken everybody up, our parents just let us go ahead and open up all the gifts under the tree as well. And usually we were done by about 4 o'clock in the morning. I promise you it's true. Now, over time, my sisters, as they aged, and got into puberty, they became way too cool. Right? They were too cool for such childishness and did not want to be bothered at all. And woe be unto the one who dared to enter their lair, right? Because you would meet the devil. So my grandmama and I decided that we would continue the tradition, and on my 12th Christmas with her, and on her 73rd Christmas, I remember I woke up early in the morning. And it was probably about 4:30, I guess. And I tiptoed quietly to our dining room to see the gifts that Santa Claus had brought me. And Like I said, it was easy to figure out what Santa Claus had brought what to whom because of the little displays that were done. Well, after I had taken a peek, I was filled with excitement. I wanted to share the moment with my partner in crime. That would have been my grandmother. So I tiptoed into our den where she usually slept. It was easy to find her because she was snoring up a storm. Right? And you could, I know she had apnea because you could just, they would stop and then, right? You'd wake her back up. Well, once I got her up, she put on her robe, and together we went arm in arm as if we were Dorothy and the Tin Man, kind of skipping along the yellow brick road. And we went into the dining room to see everything. And a short time after that, we found ourselves in our kitchen at the small pine kitchen table where my family ate dinner every night. And we were sitting in the dark. We had one candle burning, and I decided I wanted to eat some cereal. So I got some Apple Jacks out and poured it in a Blue Willow bowl, poured some milk upon it, and started eating some cereal while my grandmother sat across the table and stirred baking soda into a glass of cold water. Now, normally the woman would be drinking coffee, but at this hour in the morning, she said that she was having some terrible heartburn. I thought, yeah, must have been that aspic, right? Had to be. Well, in the hours following, her heartburn grew worse, but she really didn't tell any of us, and she made it through the rest of Christmas morning with us. Because you see, I didn't wake up my teenage sisters, so they woke up a little bit later. She made it through Christmas morning, and all the stuff we did that morning. Then she drove the 2 blocks back to her house. Well, great Christmas. We had a great Christmas as always. However, on the 26th in the morning, we got a call at our house mid-morning. I answered the phone. It was my grandma. She says, Paul, to Paulie, that's what they used to call me. Where's your mama? I said, I don't. She and Daddy went to get some paint or something. She said, well, listen, my chest is on fire. That heartburn is, I feel like I can't breathe. She was a little panicked. I heard it in her voice for the first time in my life. And as she was talking to me, the next door neighbors came in because she had phoned them. And they said, we've called an ambulance. And she goes, they called an ambulance. They got to go. She hung up the phone. As my parents were coming back from the paint store, they saw the ambulance at her house, pulled in and followed it, the ambulance to the hospital. So it turns out that heartburn wasn't the aspect at all. She was having a heart attack. And a pretty bad one, we would learn later. So at the hospital, the doctors gave her some treatment and stabilized her, but it just wasn't enough to spare her life. And on the 27th of December, which would have been yesterday, just 2 days after Christmas, she passed on to glory about 8:30 p.m. in the evening. It was a very sad time for me and my family. For many years following, I replayed that Christmas scene in my head over and over again, wondering just how much pain she was feeling when she sat down at that small pine table with me. And while I ate Apple Jacks, totally unaware, and she sipped on baking soda. We were just carrying out a family tradition. Neither one of us knew that our family tradition would soon lose our most beloved and heroic matriarch, which was my grandmama. I love her more than I can convey to you. She is a part of my DNA. She is part of what makes me who I am and will forever be. When I hear the words of the gospel, they sound so familiar to me. They're part of our Christian DNA that dates back before God created the world. Y'all know that how it goes. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and all things came into being through him. And without him, not one thing came into being. The light that shines in the darkness, the light that the darkness did not overcome. When I hear those words or something like it from John, I think about DNA. I feel it. I think about the most primal aspects of our lives, which have evolved over time. I think about the cosmos out there, the universe, the stars, the planets, the sun, the moon, and it all God breathed out at the beginning of creation. I think about how we are made, right? Not only in God's likeness and image, but we are made out of the stuff of stars, right? Carl Sagan always said we're made up of star stuff because we are. The stuff of stars lives in us, my friends. So think about the meaningful traditions that we create as humans, that we have created over the course of our lifetimes, and how important those traditions are to us. I think about the throngs and throngs, the long lines of those who have come before us and passed their faith on to us through word and deed and witness. I think about the people who have guided us, who've served as our stars in those dark night skies that we have seen, that have helped us to navigate through this often cruel, unjust world into a safe harbor. I think about the people that we have turned to for guidance, the people who have pointed us in a right direction, so that the purpose of our lives could become clear. I want you to think about them too. I want you to think about the people in your life who have served as lights in the darkness. I want you to think about the people who live in your DNA, those who are directly traceable to God Himself, because those are the people that are a part of us and we of them. And they deserve our deepest prayers and our deepest gratitude for helping us find our way, especially helping us to find our way to God. So as we continue to celebrate Christmas, remember that song about 12 days of Christmas is because there are 12 days of Christmas. So you can still be celebrating Christmas, and I want you to, until the 6th, Epiphany, right? Same day every year, the Epiphany. That's when the wise people show up, right? The patron saints of the latecomers. They show up on the 6th. So this Christmas, as it continues, I want you to spend some time in prayer. I want you to give those people the floor. Remember them in your prayers and ask them to pray for you. Those people were your light. They pointed you to the light. They helped sustain that light in you and made you who you are. So spend some time in prayer this Christmas season remembering them. Maybe write them a letter. Maybe just talk to them out loud in the mirror in your bathroom, because nobody's going to know. But spend some time thinking about those people who helped to form you. I'll be thinking about my grandma. I'd love for y'all to join me. Merry Christmas. Amen.